Think men don't get emotionally attached? Well, think again. It's one of the biggest myths in relationships. Today, we're diving into the 7 things that actually make men emotionally invested. And trust me, it's not what you think. Let's shatter the illusion that men are emotionally detached and uncover the truth behind their emotional connections. If he's not emotionally connected to you, it's not because he's heartless, and it's definitely not because you're not enough. The real reason most people don't understand what makes a man emotionally bond is because men don't just fall in love. They connect under very specific conditions. And if those conditions aren't met, no matter how amazing you are, he'll feel like something's missing. Here's the truth. Men aren't emotionally unavailable. They're emotionally selective. They open up, commit, and stay connected only when certain deep emotional triggers are activated. Not when the vibe is right, not when the chemistry is perfect, but when these hidden things happen. And honestly, most women never learn this. They keep giving, trying harder, overthinking every text, only to feel confused and rejected when he pulls away. But once you understand what makes a man attach emotionally, you'll stop chasing connection and start inspiring it naturally. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about learning the unspoken emotional patterns that create real, lasting bonds. And once you understand them, you can't unsee them. So, if you've ever wondered why he seems so close yet so distant, or why he shows interest but never really lets you in, you're about to find out. These 7 emotional cues will change how you view male connection forever. What you're about to hear might surprise you, and it could finally explain everything. Let's begin. You might think he's just emotionally distant, or maybe even emotionally unavailable. But what if I told you most men aren't naturally closed off? They're emotionally guarded for a reason. And that reason has usually nothing to do with you, and everything to do with what he's learned about emotional safety from his past. Men are raised with an unspoken rule. Emotions are weakness. Vulnerability is dangerous. From a young age, boys are taught, either directly or indirectly, to suppress their feelings. They're told to man up, be strong, don't cry, and by the time they reach adulthood, emotional expression feels foreign, even threatening. So when they enter relationships, they carry that armor with them. Now here's the twist. That emotional armor doesn't mean he can't love. It means love feels risky. For many men, the moment they start to care, really care, is the moment their internal alarm goes off. What if I get hurt again? What if I'm not enough? What if she sees parts of me I've never shown anyone? So instead of leaning in, he pulls away. He disconnects, not because he doesn't feel, but because he feels too much and doesn't know how to handle it. And let's be honest, some men have been emotionally hurt in the past. Maybe they opened up once and got mocked for it. Maybe they let someone in and were betrayed. To him, vulnerability doesn't equal closeness. It equals exposure. And exposure feels like a threat. So when he seems emotionally distant, it's not just stubbornness or ego. It's often unresolved fear. Fear that if he truly shows up emotionally, he'll be rejected, judged, or lose control of the identity he spent years protecting. The irony is that same fear blocks him from receiving the very connection he craves most. But here's the good news. Emotional walls aren't permanent. They're protective. And when the right emotional environment is created, one that feels safe, consistent, and real, those walls begin to come down. Not by force, but by trust. Keep watching, because the first trigger we're about to cover is where that emotional unlocking truly begins. There's one moment that can completely change how a man sees you, and it's not when you look your best, or say all the right things, or even when the chemistry is at its peak. It's when he sees you being real. Not just surface level real, but emotionally open in a way that makes him feel like he's not alone in this guarded world. Shared vulnerability is the first and most powerful emotional trigger for connection. Why? Because most men don't just fear being judged, they expect it. They live in a world where emotional expression is seen as a liability. So when someone shows up authentically, and emotionally available without pressure, shame, or an agenda, it disrupts that pattern. It tells him, you're safe here. You don't have to perform. You don't have to protect. You can just be. But here's where most people get it wrong. Vulnerability isn't oversharing. It's not trauma dumping, and it's not saying I love you on the second date. True vulnerability is revealing parts of yourself that are real, honest, and maybe even imperfect, but doing it from a place of self-respect. For a man to become emotionally attached, he needs to feel that you're not just letting him see you, you're letting him feel you. That emotional transparency creates a mirror. When you open that door, he may step through, not instantly, not always, obviously, but if he senses your emotional openness is genuine and safe, something inside him softens. He stops analyzing, stops calculating, and starts feeling. That's when emotional walls begin to lower, not because you asked him to open up, but because you showed him what openness looks like. You invited connection not by demanding it, but by modeling it. Remember, most men aren't waiting to be impressed. They're waiting to feel understood. And when you lead with shared vulnerability, not to get something in return, but because it's who you are, you don't just stand out, you become unforgettable. That's when the emotional attachment begins. Next, we're diving into the second emotional trigger, one that most women overlook completely, but that makes all the difference. There's a moment in every man's emotional journey where everything starts to shift. And it's not when he feels attraction or admiration, it's when he feels understood. Not just listened to, not just heard, but truly, deeply understood. In a way that even he may not fully understand himself. For most men, the world doesn't often offer that kind of space. They're used to being told how they should feel, what they should do, and who they're supposed to be. So when someone comes along who doesn't try to fix him, change him, or decode him, but instead gets him and hits on a different level, it disarms him. He may not say it out loud. He may even brush it off with a smile or a joke, but inside it registers, she sees me. And not just the version I show everyone, but the version I've hidden for years. That is powerful, that is rare, and that is unforgettable. When a man feels understood, he feels accepted, and when he feels accepted, he begins to trust. Emotional attachment doesn't form through logic or checklist compatibility. It forms through emotional safety. When a man knows he can reveal something raw, imperfect, or even unspoken, and you don't flinch, something clicks inside him. That click is where bonding begins. And no, you don't have to agree with everything he says. You don't have to fix his pain or solve his problems. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer is presence. Quiet, open, grounded presence. It's in those moments, the pauses between the words, where he feels seen. When you reflect back what he's feeling, when you show empathy instead of judgment, curiosity instead of control, you build the foundation of emotional connection. It's not always dramatic, but it's always real. Sometimes it's subtle, but make no mistake, he feels it. Whether he expresses it or not, it makes him want to come closer. This kind of understanding doesn't only attract him, it anchors him. It invites him to stop performing and just be real. And once he experiences that level of emotional clarity, walking away starts to feel like losing something he didn't even realize he needed until you gave it. Now let's explore the next emotional shift, one that builds over time, but once it locks in, it's hard to break. If there's one thing that quietly builds emotional attachment in men and often goes unnoticed, it's consistency. Not in a loud, dramatic way or with grand gestures, but in small, repeated actions that show him, I'm still here, I'm still the same. For most men, emotional safety isn't created in a single moment. It's built over time, and consistency is the glue that holds that process together. He might not even realize it consciously at first, but every time you show up the same way, calm, honest, with no games, it sends a powerful message. You're predictable in the best way. This doesn't mean you never have bad days or are always perfectly composed. That's unrealistic and not real. What it means is that your reactions, your values, your emotional presence remain steady. For a man who's used to emotional volatility, mixed signals, or relationships where he had to guess what was coming next, that steady presence is magnetic. Most people chase intensity early on, wanting fireworks, chemistry, dramatic highs. But what forms true emotional attachment in men is often the opposite. It's when he realizes that being around you feels safe. Not boring, not routine, safe. That safety allows him to stop performing, stop testing, and stop bracing for the moment you change on him. When a man sees that you don't withdraw affection when you're upset, or that you don't disappear when things get complicated, or that you don't shift your energy based on how much he gives, that kind of consistency builds trust. And trust is the soil where emotional attachment takes root. It's easy to be present for a week or a few exciting dates, but what really gets through to a man is seeing who you are on week 4, month 3, or after conflict. He doesn't just want to feel good around you, he wants to feel like he knows who he's dealing with. When you offer that steady emotional rhythm, he relaxes, and when he relaxes, his guard naturally lowers. Consistency isn't exciting at first, but it's what makes him look back and say, she's the one I never had to question. Next up, a trigger that taps into the way his mind works and creates a connection far deeper than just physical or emotional attraction. One of the most underestimated emotional triggers in men is intellectual connection. It's not just about having deep conversations, it's about feeling mentally seen. While chemistry and attraction might draw him in initially, it's the stimulation of the mind that keeps him engaged and wanting more. Most men don't talk about it, but they crave someone who can challenge their thinking, not in an aggressive way, but in a way that sparks curiosity. When you can talk about life, ideas, goals, fears, and random observations, and he feels like you understand the way his brain works, something clicks. That's when emotional depth starts to form. Because now it's not just about how you make him feel emotionally or physically, it's about how you think. When he starts to feel that he can be his full mental self around you, whether that means being analytical, creative, philosophical, goofy, or even nerdy, he begins to associate you with comfort, safety, and stimulation. In a world that often expects men to just be strong, perform, or stay silent, that kind of connection feels incredibly rare. Intellectual intimacy isn't about having the same opinions. In fact, differences can be more attractive. It's about respecting his perspective, being curious about how he sees the world, and offering your own view without trying to dominate or correct him. It's a dance, and when that dance feels easy and mutual, it builds trust faster than surface-level chemistry ever could. If you can have conversations that energize him, not just emotionally, but mentally, he will look forward to talking with you, not just seeing you. He'll think about what you said hours later. He'll replay moments where you surprised him with insight, humor, or a question no one's ever asked him before. That's how you go from someone he's interested in to someone he's mentally invested in. When a man feels that kind of connection, where he's not just heard but mentally understood and inspired, it creates a bond that's almost impossible to break. Now we're about to dive into one of the most significant emotional triggers of all. The one that shows him whether you'll truly stand by him, not just when things are good, but when life gets tough. If there's one thing that makes or breaks emotional attachment for a man, it's this. Does he feel respected by you? Not just liked, desired, or appreciated, but truly respected for who he is at his core. Because while love may draw him in, it's respect that keeps him close. Without it, even the strongest connection can quietly fall apart. A man can't emotionally attach to someone he feels judged by, compared to others, or constantly doubted by. And it's not about agreeing with everything he does. It's about showing him that even when you don't fully understand his choices, you trust that he's capable of being himself and growing on his own terms. Mutual respect goes both ways. It's not about one person leading and the other following. It's about creating space where both people's needs, values, and boundaries matter. When a man feels that his voice is valued, not just tolerated, he starts to let his guard down. That's when emotional safety turns into emotional investment. Trust works the same way. It's not something that appears overnight. It's built in quiet, consistent moments. How you respond when he opens up, how you speak about him when he's not around, how you handle conflict when emotions run high. These moments tell him whether or not he can truly trust you, not just with his secrets, but with his heart. The key part is, he's not looking for perfection. He's looking for emotional stability. He's looking for a partner who doesn't weaponize his vulnerability, who doesn't use his mistakes as leverage, and who doesn't play games with his sense of worth. When a man feels genuinely respected, when he senses that you see his effort, honor his boundaries, and trust his intentions, that's when his emotional walls begin to come down in a way that's lasting. Because emotional attachment isn't just about attraction or chemistry. It's about knowing deep down that someone values you for real. Not for who they want you to be, but for who you already are. Up next is a trigger that often catches men off guard. The moment they realize you're not just there for the highlight reel, but for the hard days too. Everyone talks about the exciting, passionate parts of a relationship. The good times, the laughter, the adventures. But what really secures a man's emotional attachment is how you show up when things get tough. Because the truth is, everyone experiences low moments. Times of doubt, stress, failure, or loneliness. How you respond in these moments can either build a bridge or tear it down. When a man is vulnerable and struggling, the last thing he wants is criticism, impatience, or distance. What he desires is someone who will stand by him without judgment. Someone who doesn't make his pain about themselves or try to fix it immediately, but instead offers steady, compassionate presence. That kind of support tells him, you're not just here for the highlights, you're here for the whole story. Showing up during tough times isn't about having all the answers. It's about listening without interruption, offering empathy without trying to change him, and reminding him he's not alone. When he feels that kind of unwavering support, it creates a safe emotional space where he can truly breathe and let his guard down. And that safety is the foundation where emotional attachment grows the deepest. Many men hesitate to open up because they fear being a burden or being misunderstood. When you prove that you can handle his struggles with patience and kindness, it changes the game. Suddenly he's not carrying the weight alone. You become his anchor, his teammate, his safe harbor. That kind of connection isn't flashy or dramatic. It's quiet, consistent, and deeply meaningful. It's the difference between a relationship that feels fragile and one that feels unbreakable. When you're willing to be present during his hardest times, it shows him that your care isn't conditional. It's real, it's lasting, and that's exactly what makes a man emotionally invest his heart fully. Coming up next is the final trigger, one that ties all the others together and reveals what truly makes a man decide to stay for the long haul. The last piece of the emotional attachment puzzle is something many people overlook. Emotional safety paired with freedom. It sounds like a paradox. How can a man feel deeply attached if he also feels free? But this balance is what truly unlocks his heart. Emotional safety means a man feels he can be himself completely without fear of judgment, ridicule, or rejection. It means he knows his feelings, thoughts, and even his mistakes won't be used against him later. It's the kind of safety that allows him to drop the act, stop pretending to be tough, and show the parts of himself he usually keeps hidden. When he feels safe, he doesn't have to guard his emotions. They can flow naturally. But safety alone isn't enough. Men also need freedom. The freedom to be independent, to have space to breathe, to maintain their identity outside the relationship. If a man feels trapped or controlled, emotional attachment fades fast. He might stay physically, but his heart begins to pull away. True connection thrives when he knows he can choose to come close and pull back without punishment or pressure. The strongest emotional bonds form when safety and freedom coexist. This means creating a relationship where he feels protected and accepted, but also trusted to be his own person. You don't try to change him or hold him hostage emotionally. Instead, you create a space where he's invited to be open, vulnerable, and authentic, but never forced or confined. When a man experiences this balance, something shifts deeply inside him. He stops fearing vulnerability because he knows he won't be hurt. He embraces freedom because he knows he won't lose connection. And that's when emotional attachment becomes lasting, effortless, yet powerful. This is the secret that separates fleeting flings from meaningful bonds. When you can offer both emotional safety and freedom, you don't just attract a man, you become the person he chooses to build a future with. Now that you know the 7 triggers, it's time to put them into action and transform your relationships from the inside out. Emotional attachment can feel fragile, and sometimes it's easy to forget that certain behaviors or patterns can silently chip away at even the strongest connections. If you want to build lasting attachment, it's crucial to understand what actually breaks it. One of the biggest killers of emotional attachment is inconsistency. When a man doesn't know where he stands, when your actions don't match your words, or when your availability fluctuates without explanation, it creates confusion and anxiety. That unpredictability makes him feel unsafe, and emotional walls start to rise. Attachment thrives on trust and reliability, and inconsistency breaks both. Another major barrier is judgment. When a man feels criticized, belittled, or misunderstood, he instinctively pulls away. No one wants to expose their vulnerabilities if they expect to be met with disapproval or harsh opinions. If you respond to his feelings with impatience or dismissal, you shut down the very openness that builds attachment. Control is also a powerful destroyer. Trying to change him, micromanaging his behavior, or pressuring him into meeting your expectations breeds resentment. Men need to feel free to be themselves, not trapped in a role you've defined. When control enters the picture, emotional safety evaporates and attachment grows. Lack of respect and trust can silently erode emotional connection too. When boundaries are crossed, promises are broken, or private matters are shared without consent, trust fades. Without trust, true attachment cannot survive. Ignoring or minimizing his emotions is another common mistake. When a man senses his feelings are unimportant or inconvenient, he stops sharing them altogether. Emotional withdrawal follows, and connection weakens. Finally, rushing intimacy or pushing for commitment before he's ready can backfire. Men tend to pull away if they feel pressured or overwhelmed. Healthy attachment needs time to develop naturally, not forced or accelerated. Understanding what breaks emotional attachment is just as important as knowing what builds it. When you recognize these pitfalls and avoid them, you create a relationship where a man feels safe, valued, and deeply connected. Stay tuned, because next we'll cover how to nurture and protect these bonds so they grow stronger every day. Keeping a man emotionally connected isn't about grand gestures or constantly proving yourself. It's about creating a space where he feels valued, safe, and genuinely understood every day, not just once in a while. The truth is, emotional attachment is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. First, remember that connection thrives on authenticity. Pretending to be someone you're not might catch his attention briefly, but it won't hold his heart. Being real, flaws, quirks and all, invites him to do the same. When he sees you're comfortable being vulnerable, it lowers his defenses and deepens your bond. Consistency remains your strongest ally. Showing up with steady energy, honest communication, and emotional availability builds trust that can withstand life's ups and downs. That reliability is what turns initial attraction into something lasting. Another key is balancing closeness with space. Everyone needs room to breathe and grow as individuals. When you respect his need for independence, you actually make him want to come closer. Emotional connection deepens when freedom and intimacy exist side by side, not when one suffocates the other. Keep nurturing intellectual and emotional intimacy by staying curious about him. Ask questions that go beyond the surface. Listen actively, show appreciation for his thoughts and feelings. When he knows you're truly interested, it fuels his desire to open up more. Respect and trust should never be taken for granted. Protect those foundations by honoring his boundaries and being trustworthy yourself. When mistakes happen, because they will, address them honestly and with empathy. How you handle conflict often defines the strength of your connection. Finally, support him through both his highs and lows. Celebrate his victories and stand firm during struggles. That unwavering presence reminds him you're more than a partner. You're a teammate. At the end of the day, emotional connection is about creating a partnership where both of you feel seen, heard, and safe. When you invest in that kind of relationship, you don't just keep him emotionally connected, you build something truly unbreakable.